Good morning.
Good morning. How are
Hey
you,
guys.
Spencer?
I am good. Hi everybody.
Wrong way.
Hang
I
on.
have.
He turned you down.
There we go.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
So
Sorry I
I'm
couldn't
going to
be there.
let you just kind of get into it a little bit. I think everyone probably knows who Spencer is, but you can introduce yourself and talk. He is going to talk to us about the importance of our big why, what drives us, and goal setting, and kind of walk us through some exercise we can do and go from there. All right, Spencer,
Yeah.
take it away, sir.
Well, sorry I couldn't be there. This is day 7 of COVID for me. Definitely got a whole lot better overnight, but still in that contagious time frame, I guess. So we'll be out of quarantine next week. Being an extrovert, it's very difficult, but we're blessed that it hasn't been like severe or anything like that. So thankful for that. A little bit about me. I'm not sure everyone who's in the room or on Zoom, but I'm Spencer Amaral. Been in real estate now, always been at this office, been doing it I'm in my 8th year. I've had a team, I've been independent. I've had virtual assistants from the Philippines that do telemarketing or transaction coordinating. I've had up to 4 or 5 people on my team. I've had just me on my team. So I've played a lot of different roles. And right now it's just my wife and I, and we're loving it, we're enjoying it. And some of the things that we've had a lot of is different whys. And I'll get into that a little bit here. Our why has changed over the years, and it can, and that's okay. So first thing, does anybody have a big why already? And you'll have to say, you can't just raise your hand. You'll have to say me, and I'm not going to ask you to share it. I'm just curious how many people are in the room. Maybe Jeremy, you can tell me how many people have one.
One. Anybody else? Have you guys thought about this? Okay, we've tentatively got 2.
Okay. Out of
what is that? 6, 7, if we count Carla. I don't know if she's here.
Okay.
Oh, 6 out of 6.
Okay. Well, no promises that you'll all have one by the end of today, but I hope whatever I get to ultimately come out of my mouth adds some sort of value to even those who do have a why already. First thing is I wanted to define why. Seems kind of silly, but if you Google define why, it basically says for what reason or purpose. So what I took away from that, it had a little thing that said, why do you do it? So why do you do what you do? What that tells me is if there's no reason to show up and do the work, just why are you doing it? Why should you do it? What causes you to go to work? And so that's what I want to define a little bit. I've heard someone else say this, so if you think it's silly, blame them, whoever it was. Would you do what you do every single day if no one paid you for it? Would you go and bag groceries day in and day out if you didn't have a job bagging groceries? So let's assume lead generation is something that you should just be doing. That's what we all assume. I know I got into lead gen pretty quick here, but that's why we need a why, right? Is because we need a why to help us do the things that we don't necessarily always want to do. So sometimes it's even harder to show up and lead generate than it is to show up for a job to bag groceries, because you have no boss that's watching you, that's making you show up and lead generate. You have no customers that are going to have to carry their groceries to their car themselves, or and dropping oranges on the way to their vehicle because you didn't show up to do the work. No, if you don't show up to lead generate, the world will still turn. And if you think that it won't, then you maybe think too highly of yourself. The world will still go on if you don't pick up the phone and lead generate. Maybe just not yours. So I'll take you down a little bit of a path for myself on what my why was. When I was trying to kind of figure out what I wanted to say today, I went through my notes and I typed in big Y, and it pulled up my Ys from 2016. I had two Ys, and they said this. They said Bob, who is my father-in-law, was suffering from cancer, and so my why was Bob, helping pay for his medical bills and his treatments. And then my second why was never letting my family, my parents, my siblings, or myself financially suffer. Now, I'll tell you why those were so impactful for me is because they were connected to a because. They weren't just my big why is this, or my big why is my family. You have to have a why connected with a because in order to make an impact in your world and others. You may have a why. It could be your family, it could be your kids, it could be your bank account. But unless it's connected to a because, your why won't have an impact. My family is my why because I don't want blank to happen to my family because they deserve blank. My income because I never blank. My income because I've always wanted to blank. You can't have a why that's just one word. So whatever your why is, it's got to be connected to something meaningful to you through because. Why because? And for me, my why was family. My why was bank account, money, income. And the thing is, growing up, my family was bankrupt more than we weren't. And there were times when, you had to find change on the floorboard in the car to be able to go eat a Taco Bell for dinner. And I so passionately didn't want to let my family, my parents, my brothers, my siblings, my wife, to go through that again. And so I found something deep within, other than just not being broke, that would cause an emotion that'll actually make the hair stand up on your arms or to make some tears come to your eyes. Because without that, it's not something that'll keep you going 7 days a week. Not that you should work 7 days a week, but it's not something that I woke up this morning and I don't feel like doing this today. It pushes you every single day. It can't be something that motivates you on some days and not on others. If making sure your children are fed is something that motivates you one day and not the other, then maybe you got to dig a little deeper then. That's pretty deep for me. And so if they're not connected, your why connected to impact through because, and it doesn't make your hair stand up on your arms or your eyes tear up in some way, then you've got a little more digging to do. And sorry if I'm looking over here and over here. I've got notes over here and a video over there. So I'm actually looking at all of you guys. If you look up to your right towards the ceiling, I can see some of you. So anyways, I'm looking at the back of your heads. So you have to ask yourself, what is most important to me? And then why is this important to me? And what does that do for me? I spoke a couple months ago at the office, and I was talking about how most of our whys ultimately are selfish. That even one of the most selfless things, they say marriage, can actually ultimately be a selfish thing. So your why can be a selfish thing. And I say that about marriage is because you wouldn't be standing at the altar marrying that person unless they made you feel a certain way. If they didn't make you feel loved, you wouldn't be necessarily loving them. I only know one person that has absolute, perfect, unconditional love. That's Jesus. And we fall short of that. And so ultimately, everything we do has some sort of selfish motivation. So even our why, when we say we want to accomplish something, this is why we want to do this or that. somehow we get something out of it too. And so it's okay to have that, and yet we need to keep digging deeper and ask ourselves the question, if it is our family, why is it important to me to accomplish this goal for my family? What do they get out of this? And then why is that important to them? Why is it important to them that they get that? And then, okay, so based on that, what do they ultimately get out of this? I was a MAPS coach for about 8 months, and our first call with anyone was always those two questions. We asked those on, we have like an 8-page dialogue we have to have with each person when we're first meeting them to coach them. And on the second, really 10 minutes into the conversation, we have to ask, okay, so here's your goal. Why is that important to you? And then follow up with, well, what do you get out of that? What does that get you? And then, okay, why is that important to you? And then follow up again, what do you get out of that? And I know it sounds crazy, but on the fourth question, maybe you have to keep going through it. Every single person, even the hardest of people, will break down and tear up a little bit. You have to be connected to your why through because. So I don't know how deeply connected the two of you that have it already may feel to your why, and the other 5 or whoever else is there. I don't necessarily know any of your life stories, but everyone has gone through some stuff that motivates them. And for me, it was always being just above broke. If my bank account was at a certain level, then I was motivated to achieve my goal. Guys, I can tell you right now, that's a bad business plan. Being just above broke is a terrible way and a very stressful way to set your goals. You've got to have something. If you're not one of the 1% of the world that are internally motivated already, 1 out of 100 that don't need a big why, they just do it because they set the goal and then, gosh darn, they're going to do it. If you're not one of them, and I'm not, then you need something externally motivating you, and you've got to keep it in front of you always. So I hope some of that gives a little bit of justification to having a why. And if you haven't gone beyond where you've always kind of wanted to go with your goals or anything like that, it could be that you're just lacking that big why that makes the hair stand up on your arms, makes your eyes tear up when you say it out loud. And so one of the things that I wanted to go through with you guys is just to communicate and ask that you would journal for a little bit about what it is exactly that your why could be. And you can write it in just one words. So it could be family, it could be money, it could be influence, it could be a lot of different things. I've heard Ben Kinney even say that his why is actually just why not. He wants to be number 1. Why not? I don't really align with that, but some people might, and that's okay. It could be a why not. And what you want to do is just write down as many of those one words of what those whys could be. Journal those down. And then once you have all of those, then you're going to write out some sentences because, and then you fill in that blank. So would that be okay if we did that right now?
Yep.
Would that be cool? Maybe just take 5 minutes and start writing down those one words of what your why is. And then after you've gotten as many as you can think of what your whys could be, I want you to do a bullet point basically after those and write as many because statements. We'll do that until like 10:25.
Sounds good. I'm going to put on some inspiration.
10:25. Okay.
Yeah, what's some inspiration? are you going to do it on there?
We can just do it on here. So
Yeah,
it plays it right.
Yeah.
What do you want? Amazon Prime or YouTube?
Prime.
Offer. Do you want?
Okay. Anything that's wrong.
Oh, wrong, huh?
I hope that background song was way more relaxing than it was on Zoom. Sounded like a whale that was dying in my ears.
Well, I hope it was a little better than that. Yeah.
Just a little future feedback. for all of the feedback I was getting. Anyways, I just turned it down. It's fine. Okay. Sorry if anyone wasn't done. Just wanted to see how'd we do. Did anyone write anything? Did everyone write something? Did everyone write something?
They all in here said yes. Oh, good Lord.
Great. Wow. Well, I'm curious, did anyone connect with one of their because statements more than you maybe even thought you would have? And would anyone be willing to share it?
We got one that
Okay, she'll cry.
she'll cry.
Okay, that was my goal. So someone cry for us. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, I'd love to hear it. Really would. And I know that it could make an impact on the group.
Or is it too much?
Now, Amy, you got to come here so the people on Zoom can hear.
I'll try. I just need to be right here. Is Hank your husband? Okay. This is Donna's, and Hank is her husband. She writes, because Hank needs to be released from physical work, because my time is limited, productivity, because enjoying time with family and grandkids, because she doesn't want to burden her children with aging years, and because life without stress and worry. It's really good.
Make yourself cry, you make us cry. That's beautiful. That'll get you going every day, won't it? Were you someone who had a why before? Were you one of the two that said I have a why?
Yes.
So you've been connected to your why.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Y'all, if you don't have a why like that, you should spend every day digging until you get it. You need to be connected to a why, and everyone's got something that's gonna motivate them at that level. And if you struggle to find it, maybe you need to go see a therapist so they can help extract it. Everyone's got something. So turn some of that motivation into action. You know, you gotta dig a little deeper for it. I just had one other thing I really wanted to leave you all with. Thank you again for allowing that why to be shared with the room. I really appreciate it. That was beautiful. There are a lot of people who will come up with a why and will say it's one thing, but they don't truly mean it. They use their why as just a means to a different end. It could be I'm working for my family, but ultimately what they mean is I want more money, fame, and other things. So you have to be true to yourself. You have to be able to answer the question is how much is enough for my family? Don't say it's my family and then spend every waking moment away from them to make enough to make money to give them. There's balance, there's counterbalance. And so never let your big why become an excuse to accomplish something else that may even take you away from your big why. And that comes with being more effective and efficient with your goals. You need to be able to do more in less time and use your big why to be purposeful with the time that you do have and spend that time working diligently towards a certain end. Get the work done in the time that's allowed, because we all know that everything fills to the time that's allowed. And so if you give yourself slack, then you're not looking at your big why enough to stay focused when you should be focused. What truly is going to prove what your why actually is your money and your schedule. How you spend your money and how you spend your time will ultimately show what you believe your why is. So be true to yourself and ask yourself, what do you believe your why is? I think you guys are going to perhaps watch a video by Simon Sinek here in a little bit. When you watch that video, I really want you to consider how your why will impact what you do and how you explain what your why is to others, how you say it out loud, and how you say it to yourself internally and externally, how that will change based on what Simon says. He's the one that wrote the book, Start With Why. And I've watched this video 100 times over, and it has impacted me in a lot of different ways. And I think it'll help you define and figure out, what is it that I believe? Why am I doing what I do? Not just what it is that I do or how I do what I do, but why I do what I do. That's all I got today for you guys. I apologize that a little bit shorter winded than it normally would have been. But we're just over here, sleeping about 16 hours a day and a little bit foggy up in here. And so I hope what I shared today was impactful or helpful. And if you ever have any questions, you can get my email address from Jeremy or whoever, and feel free to shoot me an email. I'd love to be helpful in helping you find your why if you need any assistance with that. And yeah, so appreciate y'all letting me come and talk to you.
I appreciate you coming, even though you weren't feeling your best. It was very good and helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all. Good luck and find your why.
All right, thanks. I was going to mention too, so I know a lot of you guys have the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Some of the new ones, I say all the time, read through and all that. But on page 72, it talks about think powered by a big why. And so that's a part, if you would go read that. But it says, above all else, we've discovered that one thing all high achievers have in common is they are working for a big why. The big why is about having a purpose, a mission, or a need that in turn gives you focus. High achievers always have a big why powering their actions. So that, and I mean, he mentioned it too, but that why is what drives us. But then we have to have the goals and the things to set to be able to achieve those. Because if we just have the why, that's not, going to get us exactly where we need. So that's why we talk about the 411, your GPS, and like Randall has his, talked about, he has his planner. We have to still have those motivations and goals that power us. So this is just a couple blurbs from other realtors that I talked to. He said, if you have the right why, it kicks the tar out of any how. You can always figure out the how. So we have to have the purpose and the reason, and then make the plans to how. And this one said, at first the motivation was money. Now God and family come first. I like my lifestyle. And he kind of touched on that too. Obviously, we all work to make money. But those days that you don't want to, make those calls, get out of bed, it's snowing, I'd rather stay at home. It goes back to that, what happens to our big why if we don't continue to work and all of that. So read these two, really good. And then it goes on with lots of big why stuff in there. So Jeremy, if you want to start that video for us. What? Thank you, sir.
I'll leave the music up for later. I'll leave the music up for later. Here we go. Oh, okay. I didn't share it on Zoom, so I know why.
how do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery, and this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this: we make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into 3 major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle 2 sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures, and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart, or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. The goal is not just to hire people who need a job. It's to hire people who believe what you believe. I always say that, you know, there's if you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. And nowhere else is there a better example of this than with the Wright brothers. Most people don't know about Samuel Pierpont Langley. And back in the early 20th century, the pursuit of powered man flight was like the .com of the day. Everybody was trying it. And Samuel Pierpont Langley had what we assume to be the recipe for success. I mean, even now, you ask people, why did your product or why did your company fail? And people always give you the same permutation of the same 3 things. Undercapitalized, the wrong people, bad market conditions. It's always the same 3 things. So let's explore that. Samuel Pierpont Langley was given $50,000 by the War Department to figure out this flying machine. Money was no problem. He held a seat at Harvard and worked at the Smithsonian and was extremely well connected. He knew all the big minds of the day. He hired the best minds money could find, and the market conditions were fantastic. The New York Times followed him around everywhere, and everyone was rooting for Langley. And how come we've never heard of Samuel Pierpont Langley? A few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They had none of what we consider to be the recipe for success. They had no money. They paid for their dream with the proceeds from their bicycle shop. Not a single person on the Wright brothers' team had a college education, not even Orville or Wilbur. And the New York Times followed them around nowhere. The difference was Orville and Wilbur were driven by a cause, by a purpose, by a belief. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it'll change the course of the world. Samuel Pierpont Langley was different. He wanted to be rich, and he wanted to be famous. He was in pursuit of the result. He was in pursuit of the riches. And lo and behold, look what happened. The people who believed in the Wright brothers' dream worked with them with blood and sweat and tears. The others just worked for the paycheck. And they tell stories of how every time the Wright brothers went out, they would have to take 5 sets of parts because that's how many times they would crash before they came in for supper. And eventually, on December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight. And no one was there to even experience it. We found out about it a few days later. And further proof that Langley was motivated by the wrong thing, the day the Wright brothers took flight, he quit. He could have said, "That's an amazing discovery, guys, and I will improve upon your technology." But he didn't. He wasn't first. He didn't get rich. He didn't get famous. So he quit. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you talk about what you believe, you will attract those who believe what you believe. Well, why is it important to attract those who believe what you believe? Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. And if you don't know the law, you definitely know the terminology. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. The only reason these people buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all sit at various places at various times on this scale, but what the law of diffusion of innovation tells us is that if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration, and then the system tips. And I love asking businesses, what's your conversion on new business? And they love to tell you, oh, it's about 10%, proudly. Well, you can trip over 10% of the customers. We all have about 10% who just get it. That's how we describe them, right? That's like that gut feeling, oh, they just get it. The problem is, how do you find the ones that just get it before you're doing business with them versus the ones who don't get it? So it's this here, this little gap, that you have to close, as Geoffrey Moore calls it, crossing the chasm. Because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're comfortable making those gut decisions. They're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out, when you could have just walked into the store the next week and bought one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 on flat screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. And by the way, they didn't do it because the technology was so great. They did it for themselves. It's because they wanted to be first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. In fact, people will do the things that prove what they believe. The reason that person bought the iPhone in the first 6 hours, or stood in line for 6 hours, was because of what they believed about the world and how they wanted everybody to see them. They were first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So let me give you a famous example, a famous failure and a famous success of the law of diffusion of innovation. First, the famous failure. It's a commercial example. As we said before a second ago, the recipe for success is money and the right people and the right marketing conditions, right? You should have success then. Look at TiVo. From the time TiVo came out about 8 or 9 years ago to this current day, they are the single highest quality product on the market. Hands down, there is no dispute. They were extremely well funded. Market conditions were fantastic. I mean, we use TiVo as a verb. I TiVo stuff on my piece of junk Time Warner DVR all the time. But TiVo is a commercial failure. They've never made money. And when they went IPO, their stock was at about $30 or $40 and then plummeted, and it's never traded above 10. In fact, I don't think it's even traded above 6, except for a couple of little spikes. Because you see, when TiVo launched their product, they told us all what they had. They said, we have a product that pauses live TV, skips commercials, rewinds live TV, and memorizes your viewing habits without you even asking. And the cynical majority said, we don't believe you, we don't need it, we don't like it, you're scaring us. What if they had said, if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over every aspect of your life, boy, do we have a product for you. It pauses live TV, skips commercials, memorizes your viewing habits, etc., etc. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, and what you do simply serves as the proof of what you believe. Now let me give you a successful example of the law of diffusion of innovation. In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. King speak. They sent out no invitations, and there was no website to check the date. How do you do that? Well, Dr. King wasn't the only man in America who was a great orator. He wasn't the only man in America who suffered in a pre-civil rights America. In fact, some of his ideas were bad, but he had a gift. He didn't go around telling people what needed to change in America. He went around and told people what he believed. I believe, I believe, I believe, he told people. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own, and they told people. And some of those people created structures to get the word out to even more people. And lo and behold, 250,000 people showed up on the right day, on the right time to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about America that got them to travel on a bus for 8 hours to stand in the sun in Washington in the middle of August. It's what they believed, and it wasn't about black versus white. 25% of the audience was white. Dr. King believed that there are 2 types of laws in this world, those that are made by a higher authority and those that are made by man. And not until all the laws that are made by man are consistent with the laws that are made by the higher authority will we live in a just world. It just so happens that the civil rights movement was the perfect thing to help him bring his cause to life. We followed him not for him, but for ourselves. And by the way, he gave the I have a dream speech, not the I have a plan speech. Listen to politicians now with their comprehensive 12-point plans. They're not inspiring anybody. Because there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or authority, but those who lead inspire us. Whether they're individuals or organizations, we follow those who lead, not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow those who lead, not for them, but for ourselves. And it's those who start with why that have the ability to inspire those around them or find others who inspire them. Thank you very much.
There. Okay. I don't know how to get back to the other screen now. So, I hope that, kind of made you think too, with your business, what you how to sell your what. So, that comes across pretty sells money. Did anyone have anything that you got out of it that you want to share? Anything? Well, like I said, today went a little bit shorter than we thought because I thought Spencer had a little bit more. But I hope that helped you guys and to kind of work on your why and all of that and kind of dive down deeper and, write it out, have it, look at it often, visit it. That kind of goes back to the, help you write your goals too. Because we, talked about goals. I think he did a goal class. I don't know if any of you guys came on how to do it in command and set your goals and all of that too. But it all ties together. And that's the motivation and why we do what we do. So that goes into the vision board too, to have something visually to look at, to inspire you, put your goals on. And we'll work on all that in a little bit too. I don't have anything else to really talk about unless you guys have questions or anything that you want to visit about. Anything? Anybody? No? Okay. We do have lunch coming at 11:30, so we have 30 minutes. So if you guys want to sit and, kind of do more on goals and write that out, we can do that. Jeremy was going to show us some stuff in goals and command, and he's not up here. So he might come back in a minute. I'll go find him. And we can do that too if you guys want, whoever wants to. But stick around and we'll, Gateway's bringing us lunch and we're going to go from there. So Zoom, if you want to come have lunch, come up here. If not, I don't have anything else to say right now. So, all right. I'm going to see if Jeremy is going to come up. That's probably. So he has a book that goes along with that too. And Simon's quick. I mean, I know Gary was going to have an family reunion last year. His stuff is really good. The name of that one, How Great Leaders Inspire Action, is what. No, that was the talk title again. It was just on YouTube. And then the book, he said, that goes along with it. Simon Sinek wrote the book, Start With Why. Yeah. Yeah. So many books I have that I want to read. I fall asleep when I read.
Well, I can't read stuff like this while I'm trying to fall asleep because then my mind gets going and because I don't sleep anyway. And
So you guys wanted him to show us that, or you all already have done it? I know Sam did his class, but I'll have to grab him. That would be helpful.
Dessert before lunch.
Look the other way. I've never put all this stuff in my hot chocolate.
Do they have those hot chocolate bombs? I don't just love it.
Well, I've been seeing recipes for this, and I don't really know what they are.
Oh, it's just, if you chocolate on hot chocolate, really.
Oh, it melts.
It melts and creates flavor rather than sweet. Peppermint mocha.
So you start with water and then you put the bomb in them? Or start with.
Most of what I've seen, they actually start with just a plain generic hot chocolate and then they drop it in there.
To add a little more
Yeah.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Everybody needs more chocolate.
That's my weakness. Chocolate. I can't even look at it. I look at chocolate.
Well, is that new chocolate bombs?
It's like the big thing this year.
Yeah, it's on Pinterest here. I've noticed, yeah. Are they easy to mix? And not even much.
I think you should do like a hard chocolate shell, like, you know, the chocolate candy. And then you fill it with marshmallows and whatever else you want to do. And then,
Can you do like chocolate almond bar? Or is that like?
Yeah, you can, but you have to have like the mold.
right.
So you have to have like a chocolate mold, and you stick all that stuff inside, and then you get the chocolate mold, you stick it on top, and you put I guess melted chocolate around it and do it. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Kind of like a cake bomb, but instead of cake, it's just hollow, and you put all the goodies stuff in.
Oh,
Yeah, I looked at it on Pinterest. I'm like, that looks pretty cool, but that's a lot of work.
yeah.
So, I gotta wait like 5 minutes. I have class scheduled for myself going on right now. That's starting in a couple minutes. I just don't know if anybody's gonna attend. It's February, so Sandy, actually I expected you to be on there, but
Well, I'm here.
exactly, right? I didn't realize we had both scheduled. So, so let me go sit on that for like 5 minutes, see if anybody can, and then I'll be back. I don't anticipate.
What is your class on?
It's Community Central, so.
You said they're all on YouTube, right? And I can watch them as
Yep, I record them. I'm actually for this month, because this month is weird. With, vacations, snow days, I'm gonna do a shorter version that's recorded, just completely recorded. So not really. Yeah, that's fine. As long as you get the info, that's the important part. So. you can just make my phone. There's only one other person left on there. I think that's on there. I have yours.
name is Dalton. He started like the same. Oh, he did, right? But I've not seen him.
I can't remember what, I think there was something going on with his mother.
His mom at the time when I came up here for, or when I dialed in for orientation. I think I him with his mom. But see, what you said about your children, not having to depend on your children. Mine is the exact opposite. I don't want my father to have to be here. He's fine now, very active, whatever, he kind of stuff. And I don't want him to, I want to be able to.
Nobody on there, okay.
That's when he was.
That's not Speaker Gene.
I believe that. And he takes, always has taken lots of stuff. I get back, mom and dad were exactly healers when I was little. I'm sure you're right.
No, I'm like,
My
first
dad.
off, I can't hear. I can't read lips. And then I'm like, hello?
He got he's Sicilian. He lived there. Most of the men on my dad's side of the family, you know, they lived 94, 95, 96, you know. And it's just, that's what Doc said, it's just genes. Some people just have the,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, my husband says, you're gonna live forever, so you better just plan.
I mean, there's other stuff. You're careful, but genes have pretty much.
Well, yeah.
You have more than one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's just not good. It's sitting here.
Yeah, I think she's in her office with Susan, so.
What is the Wi-Fi here? I don't have it on my phone.
Do you just need the password or do you not? The Wi-Fi is called KW Wi-Fi, so. And let me know when you're ready for the password. It's Edmund, all lowercase. Then a 27 with a capital K and a capital W. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was like to say, I've never joined this one.
Oh, you might as well use it. I mean, you're here all day, so.
Well, the clocks went out last night. And I was like, really? They've been out so many times. I'm about to pull my hair out.
Just curious, where do you live? Like this part of town?
Third and Boulevard.
That's the opposite way. I had a family friend that was calling me this weekend, same thing. Cox kept going out on her. And yeah, I don't know. You can't fix that.
Back when I was in quarantine with COVID, I was trying to work from home. And I can never work. It would be out all day. And then come back on at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. So I'd call Kevin and say, okay, I'm about to start working.
Oh.
We lived in Washington.
And I'm assuming, they told us that they're trying to do some upgrades because of so many people starting to work remotely. It's just
Overloaded.
Yeah. So they're trying to upgrade and everything. So.
What I was gonna say was when we were here, we went to, because my son was doing AT&T, we went to the AT&T fiber optic. It has been incredible.
Well, I don't know that they have that everywhere.
But you just have to check. The speed is incredible. It hasn't gone out once. We have
I might be with that. So, and that's, I don't think I'm gonna have anything out there.
To where?
To pee on.
Oh,
Like out in the country. There's a step.
you gotta crank your internet out there.
It may be all up. No, I'm just joking.
Hopefully you don't have to step that far back.
I went back to get my and so I reached my history teacher. He was saying something about dial-up, and I said, "Oh, my grandparents still have dial-up." He was like, "What?" I said, "They're so far in the country that they."
Oh, they have.
Yeah, and she can't. Now they have some type of upgrade, but they only have so much per day. So she can't have Netflix, Hulu, she can't stream anything. That's how the stick.
That's a bummer. But I mean, but what do you do? I mean, it's what's available.
That's how I grew up, you know. I was, so my kids were like, "Does she have internet yet?"
I hope you get signal out there, but there's no cell towers.
No, we're like this in the house. I have 2 bars. I have 2 bars.
I can't move for a couple hours now.
We don't even get to see them anymore. I might be. It's about 20 minutes. It's not bad.
I used to,
20, 30 minutes.
I used to drive to Wilshire and Rockwell. So it would be a good 25 minutes.
Yeah, I actually will be closer to Platinum. And I actually thought about joining Platinum before I joined here.
Yeah.
But I'll stay here because I have all my friends over here, and so I'll probably like leave work, like go visit friends and stuff. I don't know. I'm really confused. My kids keep their dad's address for school, but they're both girls. And then my oldest. So. But I got pre-qualified for my loan. Now I gotta like get all my documents in to see, because I have great credit. Just making sure.
Brad, is that you who connected?
I mean, I have contracts.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so just because you asked, I'm not doing the command essentials today. I will record something and send it out, so I'll make sure I send a copy to you too.
Okay, great.
So
Yeah, I
just
was
because
wondering.
it was scheduled at the same time as this, so I didn't mean to do that.
You're fine. I was just wondering how you were going to be in 2 places at one, and I thought, well, I got to watch one or the other or both. So thank you for letting me know.
Oh, you're welcome. I think we
I
have
can
everybody back now.
Good. I can see everything now. This is great. I was having issues before, so thank you.
Well, and we're going to go over setting goals and commands so you can have it in a system, and it kind of tells you, some numbers, how many people you need to talk to and stuff like that. So we'll do that.
Super. Good deal. I'm watching it on my phone now. Thank you. Jeremy, am I on mute or unmute?
Oh, I can hear you right now, so you're not muted.
Okay, so just hit the button to mute.
Yep. There you go. You're muted.
Are they on break right now? When's it starting up again?
It'll just be a couple minutes. I'm waiting for a good point to start.
Are they having a break every hour or what?
Our speaker was not quite as long as we thought he would be. So we'll do this goal setting, and then I think we're going to do vision boards after that. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, cool. Well, very good. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Good. No problem at all. You're welcome.
It's not negative. It's not negative. But you're. I don't really. And then like getting the papers. And all that. Really. I don't mind showing. So like, I wouldn't mind if you would just to do all that and then I can just go ahead and do all this legally, and all that. And I like those and that's kind of what I was doing. So I like that. Well, that's great, it's fun. I'm like, I like this. You know, my idea as a judge was. So I'm really good one. Yeah, because I mean, you're going to part of it, but he was so fine. Yeah. Yeah. Send it all. That beyond the yeah.
Yes, see, that's what, like.
I would think all of that, the driving and stuff, I would do that one.
But like, we still did the, I mean, we put the.
I'm sorry, I don't want to tell. I just want to.
Yeah, what you can't.
And now I know a person, but I looked him up.
Well, you can this is sometimes. Yeah.
We're talking about my stuff. I really do not want to see there.
There are good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they drive me.
I know.
And if you want to go, like I said, you can fly to Denver and then drive, but I would not drive up to North Dakota and go see,
Really?
I know, that's why the reason I can't.
Have you been to Cody?
Well, just tell them that you talk to several people and you can go to El Resort and you can do snowmobiling in the winter, but there's a lot more to do in summer.
Yeah.
If you want to drive.
Well, I've gone so long now. I wouldn't mind working for somebody else.
There's two different
I couldn't.
lanes you can have hands on. Bigger speed thing that will take you up all the
But
way.
if they would do something like
And there's
that,
also.
that would be.
Okay. And he. Really good about.
If any of you been to Cody?
Here we are. Yeah. So it's a little cute.
Yeah, they have rodeos every day.
I told him. We actually. Well,
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine him not.
What are you?
Oh, I was just talking to somebody. So, Brad Schwartz. So, yeah, I'll go through this. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. So 15 minutes. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that gives you plenty of time. Okay. Well. CR, I missed the end of Spencer's. Do you want to? Actually, I guess I just missed the video. Do you want? I don't know. Do you want an intro, or you just want me to? Okay. No, it's fine. That's easy. Okay. So, guys, in the spirit of today, setting goals and finding your big why. Like everything else we have, there's a tool for KW for setting your goals and to keep track of them. If you want to follow along, feel free. The hardest part of this tool kind of walks you through it, so it almost prompts you to put things in. But the hardest part is figuring out what you want to put in, right? What are your numbers? So we'll go through it. So there's a couple ways to get to this tool. Right now, I'm on your dashboarding command. And the big thing I want to point out here is they have this widget just to help you keep track of it, or so you can, if you're somebody you want to see your goals every time you log into command, you want them right in front of you so you know they're top of mind and you know the first thing you think of. You can set it up to do that. This widget should be in your dashboard for everybody, but you might have to scroll down to find it. They have this customize button right at the top. So if you want to do something like I've done, you can just drag and drop this goals versus actuals and just move it to where you want. So just another way for you to put whatever's most important right there in front of you every time you log in. So yeah, and there's a lot, you can see there's lots of different things. I just want to make sure to point that out, that is actually there for you guys if you want to see it. Now, I'm sure you see this little banner right here that says set up your goals for success, setting your goals for 2021. If you're seeing that banner, you can click that. It's going to take you immediately to where we're going to go in a second. But just in case that banner is not up for you, or maybe, 3 months from now, we want to update our goals or something. You can always find your goals under reports. There's a new report here. I think it's text. I don't think we had that before, but stay focused, Jeremy. So we're talking about goals today. You can see there's a tab called goals. So if you click that, we're going to see a much more expanded version of what that little widget was showing us. And you can see right up here, this big blue button says goal setting. So that's where we're going to go today. We'll look at this screen probably afterwards because I love this. But this is going to open up one of those, I don't know if they're still calling them Kelly guides. They are. So one of these Kelly guides for setting these goals. And like I said, it kind of just walks you through it. If you've never set your goals in here, you're going to notice that there's some pre-filled things for you. They're pre-filling it based off of the MREA book. Now mine I played with, so yours are going to be not like mine. But it does default. I don't remember what the default was anymore, but is there stuff in there for you? Yep. So if you plug in default numbers, feel free to adjust these. Yeah, it's a great goal. I think it's $1 million is the goal. Yeah, so, well, we're looking at 2021. So let me back up real quick. So if you go to the report section of command, which is the little bar graph looking thing down here, the goal tab is up at the top. And then to launch that Kelly guide is just hit goal settings right here, and it'll launch it for you. So yeah, again, your numbers are gonna, whatever they are. Mine defaulted to 1.2 million, and it was fun. But of course, we're gonna want to adjust this to make it realistic for you, because if the goal is 1 million, but our goal isn't 1 million, this doesn't help us. So first thing it has you do is, what is your profit goal? Now, this is not production, right? This is profit. So what do you take home? What do you want to make? In this case, I put $200,000, $200,005. How do I say this? $200,000. I don't know. We'll just say $200,000. I'm stumbling over myself. So we're setting 2021 goals. So I know it says 2020 here. Just ignore it, guys. That's a typo. But you picked in this first drop down, you picked, do you want to do 2020 goals? Or do you want to do 2021? So we're just looking at 1 year. And then how much do you want to make that year? So if you want to take home $100,000, put $100,000 in here. If you want to make $500,000, put $500,000 in here. Whatever that looks like in your world. So when Spencer was talking about, what is that number that you have to make, you need to make for your family? This is what we're going for, right? Of course, if you have to personalize this. You can coming up with numbers is great, but we have to at least have an idea of what is realistic for us, right? Nothing wrong with leaving $1 million in there. Just understand it's going to pump out. You're going to have to talk to a lot of people to hit $1 million, right? So they are. And a cheeseburger. But you don't want to undersell yourself, right? We want to make a good goal. So it pushes us to grow in our business, right? Are you raising your hand, Randall? Oh, okay. So there was a reason I did an extra $500 on my goal, and I think it was to make like one of the numbers pretty. So, oh, I know what. If you just do 200,000, this comes out for what I put in 16,666. So that's why we changed it. So now I remember. So in this case, I want to take home $200,000. So that was a pretty good goal for me. Expenses. The MREA book puts this breakdown here of 30, 30, 40. So 30% expenses, 30% cost of sale. So that's where I got these numbers. Millionaire real estate agent. Red book. This all comes from the red book. Now. You may not know this. Mm-hmm. So these expenses. Yes. Are most of them written off eventually? I have no idea. that I don't know. I would imagine at least some of them you can write off because it's going to be like marketing expenses and stuff like that. Find a good tax advisor. Yeah. Expenses should be 30%, not of your gross, but of this total over here with the annual. Because to make 200,000, we're going to have to do in this scenario $300,000 or $330,000 of GCI. That includes my expenses and my cost of sale and everything like that. So it's a great goal. Yes, ma'am. Scroll to the top. Big blue button on the top right. That'll get you right to the screen we're on. Now make sure, again, I can't repeat it enough. Make sure you switch to 2021 or you'll have to do it all again. So I had to play with these numbers to get them kind of where I wanted. So feel free to play with them, guys. It kind of breaks it down for you right here. So I've actually budgeted a little less than 30% because when we did this class, we sort of talked it over. They had just done that business planning clinic. And apparently they talked about it in that class that single agents can hover between 15 to 25% on each of these instead of 30. So it's definitely a scale thing. There's definitely a local side of this. It may be cheaper for us to do a transaction here than in Texas. I don't know the specifics there, but 30% is a good generalized number. The longer you're in business, the more information you're going to have, right? And you can probably get more accurate here. You may run a tighter ship than others. So you may be able to bring that cost of sale down and increase your profit that way. So that's just another reason we want to try to make these accurate, right? So if you want to do 20, 25% for those cost of sale or operating expenses or do whatever makes you comfortable, I like to over budget personally. So I would much rather budget in a higher cost of sale and be pleasantly surprised than factor in a lower cost of sale and that eat into my profits, right? So just, do your best here. We have to pick something. Correct. So this is business expenses. So for running your business, this is what our budget model looks like essentially. Or I guess budget model is not the right term there, but we're trying to project how much we need to sell in order to cover all our expenses and take home what we want. Not in here. No, but those, and I would probably agree with this is those household expenses should be included in our profit goal here, right? Because we want to cover those with what we make. So yeah, I would think that probably works. Now, as you guys keep going up, your makeup of listing and buyers, you guys have to make a good decision there. I left it 50-50. That's what it defaulted to. I think that's probably good. But again, if you've been in the business a couple of years and I work with more buyers than I do listings, we can adjust that. So It just, you'll see what that does later on. It breaks down how many people we need to talk to. Now this number over here, 6750 a listing. If you keep going down, that's our average commission per unit. You split it between buyers and listings. That is actually accurate for our market. So we figured that out. I think it defaults slightly higher, which is fine. We may have brought it down a little bit just for the numbers, but that's pretty good. I cannot remember, well, I wanted to do math. I could figure out what price home that was, but I think it was like 225,000, 250 or so. Our average in the market right before we had that class a couple weeks ago was 278, I believe, was our average price point, which is great. That's gone up a lot in the last couple of years. So, but again, this is where, especially, we're trying to set goals for those of you who don't really have that history. This is a little tougher, and that's why I wanted to get the market center number out there for our average. But again, if you work with people in the $300,000 to $500,000 price range, or you primarily work with people between 100 and 250, you want to adjust this to make that realistic, right? Because that is absolutely going to help you figure out how many people do I need to talk to on a weekly or on a daily basis.
So is our color Williams split in there somewhere, like the office? I'm saying,
Yes, that's where I thought it was too. So, yeah, it's included in one of those categories. That's part of it. Mm-hmm.
I got a sheet that broke all that out. Is that the one that where we like the goals? No, it's right whenever you come in. Yeah, it's part of the onboard. Yeah.
Oh, it's like down breakdown. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is a great thing to bring up. So I'll just add on to that.
Okay.
Couple things, and I cannot remember what's included in what. Maybe this little eye will tell us something. Expenses that are only made when a transaction takes place, or expenses that are made whether or not okay, so actually part of what I'm talking about is going to go to either category. So cost of sale, your cap and your split, 100% included in that, right? The $21,000 is the max you're ever going to pay in that a year. We can budget for that in your goals, right? So because once you pay that, you don't pay anything to Keller Williams, you keep 100%. So it would all be profit at that point. Mm-hmm. And we should always, our goal should be to cap, hopefully, if that's what you want to do. So, oh yeah, you're right. I don't know how much. Well, isn't royalty $3,000? Yeah. Then you're done. That's part of the 21,000. Mm-hmm. 22. Mm-hmm. You want that too. But yeah, and yeah, I guess that even that $22 you could factor in under cost of sale, if you know how many transactions you're going to do in a year, right? Or setting a goal at least. Expenses, things like your MLS fees, your board dues, stuff like that would be covered under that, right? So we should absolutely be including those. I'd probably argue your marketing budget should be in expenses, because whether or not you do a transaction, those are all, that's going to happen. Gas should be a part of this. So, I mean, there's all these costs that we kind of have to manage. We can definitely include in here. Now, any big questions? Is everybody kind of following so far? I'm happy to kind of hang out here for a minute if you need a chance to plug your numbers in. And if you guys ever want to sit down and talk through some of this stuff, I'm happy to use the tool with you. If it's talking about numbers and the real estate side of it, I would probably bring in Cindy or TR or somebody who might be a little more knowledgeable on that side. Saw the eyes go wide. So once you put your numbers in here, and I know I leave leases blank, but I mean, if you do leases, that could very well be a part of your business, right? Um, and there's basically only two parts of this. So it's that first page and then this, and then we can see what is it doing for us. So here, if you have to scroll down and get this little pop-up, but they give you a chance to change these conversion rates. So what's going on in this screen? It's saying, you know, for leads, which are going to be people who maybe we've met at an open house or an online lead, maybe you're paying for leads. Those are the people we're not already talking to. We're having a one-way communication with. So the conversion rate by default, according to the MREA book, is 5% for those people. So you talk to 100 leads, and 5 of those leads are going to turn into an actual contact that's talking back to us. And of your contacts, 5% of those are going to be looking to do a transaction in the near future. So that's what's not that we're only ever going to convert 5% of them. It's just maybe 5% in a year. So if you have a database of 1,000 people, we can reasonably expect 50 of those people to want to do a transaction this year, statistically, right? Now that's where follow-up comes into play and being front of mind and all that. But if you know you have a better conversion rate with leads when you get them online, or you do well in that department, you could very well want to adjust these numbers. I leave them default because I don't know. I'm just going to go with it. So, but we could definitely change these, right? I talk about this a little bit because that leads number, I don't really like it because it's going to be just giant, and don't get daunted by that. We'll talk through that in a minute. So, but you can kind of see what's going on here. Once we get down to appointments, well, 75% of those appointments are going to move on to being actually kept appointments. They're not going to cancel or anything. You know, once we have that appointment, 75% of those are going to turn into agreements. And then going further, 75% of those are going to go under contract and then close. There's a very real possibility that you do better than 75% here. I know many of our agents, I don't think they lose 25% of their pending sales. I just don't think that happens. But nationally, statistically, that is exactly what happens. So maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of looking at Randall and Carla here because you guys have been in the business a few years. Ballpark, do you guys think you lose a quarter of your transactions once they go pending? Does that seem really high to you? It does to me, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, which is great. There's a challenge for you guys. That would be wonderful. So, but just keep this in mind for the next screen, right? There's a reason they give you a chance to edit these because it may not be representative of how you do business. So I'm going to leave them default. Okay, that just gives you a chance to review it. So there's nothing left to do there. So the reason we did all this, so we put in those numbers, we gave it average, commission rates. We put our goal in there. Let me go ahead and, well, I'll just leave it 2020. So once you start scrolling down, this top part is tracking what you're doing in command. So it's actually connected to opportunities. It's connected to contacts. So when you add a new contact into the system, it is counting it as a contact, unless you do that little check mark that marks as a lead. Then it gets put in this lead bucket. So yeah, let me scroll down first. There's lots of little graphs and tools, and I love these, but this is my favorite one here. I know you guys probably can't read these tiny numbers, so let me tell you what they say. With those graphs, the little the circle graphs above this. So it's saying, based off of the goals I put in, I would need 58,996 leads to hit my goal with a 5% conversion rate. Now that's assuming I have no contacts and I don't have anybody I'm already working with, none of that. I don't like that part because that number is just so huge. Like that's crazy to me. So I like to start with contacts in my head because contact says to hit my goal, I need to talk to 2,950 contacts. I can do that for the year. So nice thing is this little drop down right here. If you don't like that, you can change it to a monthly view. And I like this. So that means 246 contacts a month. Okay. 4 weeks. Yeah. we'll just say 50, 65, easy math. That's probably wrong, but 65 people a week. Okay, I can do that. I mean, that's, so if I don't want to work 7 days a week, let's just say I want to work 6 days a week, it's 11 contacts a day. That's not too bad when you break it down that way. Now, I don't remember what goal I set for this year. I think it was like $200,000 or something. So, you know, this is going to adjust based off of your goal. Also, I don't know what I put in for the average commission rate in 2020. So the numbers could be way different. So this is going to adjust based off of what you put in. Now, if I need to talk to that many people because I'm only converting 5% of them. That's my bigger problem here, right? If I could find a way to up that conversion rate, I don't have to talk to nearly as many people. But when you start digging down into this, it just gets a whole lot clearer, right? Hey, I really just need to set 12 appointments this week. I'm going to hit my goal. Right? Oh, I'm on month. Sorry, 12 appointments this month. So that's actually only 3 appointments a week, right? That gets much more manageable, doesn't it? 3 appointments a week, I can do that. I don't have to talk to 200, 300 people. If I just get my 12 appointments, then I'm hitting my goal. It's a listing or a buyer appointment. So that's why that breakdown kind of mattered. That's more for you. But as long as I'm getting an appointment, I'm going to keep 75% of them. Only a quarter of them are going to cancel on me, but I'm going to keep 3/4 of them. And then going forward, 3/4 of those are going to turn into actual transactions. Right? They're going to do some sort of either contract or listing agreement. So this sort of stuff is where I see the value here. There may be other parts you guys find much more valuable. This is just what I latch on to. I like being able to break this down into a monthly and a weekly goal because that's what I need. You know, the big yearly goals are wonderful, but I find those really hard to keep my focus on. So, you know, just matching up with all this, that's where all these little, you know, circles come into play, right? So you can change these, you can change everything to month. So however you prefer to view it. Of course, I haven't put anybody in this month, so. But it's just breaking it down in a different way. And so these two are being fed by contacts. So every time you add somebody or they get entered into your system somehow, it counts them as a contact or lead. Okay, I need to talk to Scott because I know I sent him. But yeah, so those two, that's where those are coming from. The rest of these are coming from opportunities. So when you're creating an opportunity, you're starting to work with somebody, we're moving it through that pipeline. You have the chance in the details of that opportunity to put when you set the appointment date, when you kept the appointment, and when you won the agreement. And those are just dates you have to enter. That's how these get filled out. You know, if you're not doing all that, it's just not going to know that. Under contract and closed, this actually under contract might be one of those date fields too, but I know closed is when you actually move it from wherever you have it in your pipeline to closed. So, so it's just important that you're actually entering that information, or it's just going to be semi-useful for you. It's still good to track everything, but it's just not tracking everything you want to. So at least that's how that kind of works. I wish I had numbers. It does tell you based off of your opportunities. Of course, that's there we go. I have something. How many is listing? How many is buyer? Because you have to put it in those pipelines so it knows. So the more you use this, the more insights you're going to be able to pull out of your own business. And this may very well be able to tell you, okay, you think you work with more buyers, but maybe it's a pleasant surprise that you work with more listings, and you just had that in your head that you worked with more buyers. So whatever that looks like to you. For those of you who are competitive, you have a compare button. So, you know, right now I'm doing it with all agents in Keller Williams. But maybe you just want to do it in agents in your market center. Maybe you want to do it in our state. You know, if you like that competitiveness and that helps motivate you, then just turn it on. You can turn it on in contacts too if you ever want to look at that stuff. So I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else for you to put out. It's really as easy as you just plugging the numbers in there, but then we just have to make sure we're using the other parts. This is kind of cool if you want to see, you know, what do I do, or more importantly, what do I not do? Great way to see that breakdown. So you can see as far as the system knows, I do a lot of notes and I do a lot of emails, but I don't do much else. So putting notes in the contacts. like you talk to them or just logging activities, that's good stuff. That's kind of cool too. Just, I mean, it's always nice to see it when it's filling up with profit, right? Like, that's just nice. So. So what I think this is, well, that's actually what I thought it was. So 34 smart plans, but it also says 6%. So I would think that might mean I have 34 smart plans created, but I'm only using them on 6% of my contacts. Or I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to figure that one out. That might just be 6% of my, yeah, it's 6% of my activities. I don't know. Now, part of that is this email. If you've connected your Gmail account, it's tracking those emails too. So your normal email activity. So that's definitely going to be part of this. Yeah, I'll have to figure that part out a little more because I kind of want to know that. But maybe it might just be I've only sent 34 emails out of smart plans, which, I mean, I don't send them. I send them myself, so I can believe that. Yeah, it doesn't get any more complicated than that. So it's mostly, I encourage you guys to play around with this. Like I said, find the piece that's important to you because it'll motivate you. Any big questions? Okay. Like I said, if you guys ever want to look at this or you want to sit down, I'm happy to do it. That's all I got. Welcome.